You're going to have to repeat that, Angie. because we need to record that. I promised everybody we'd have a recording. Dang it. Sorry, Angie, can you say that again? You know how to do that? Are you recording now? Oh, good. Woohoo! Tell us what you did again.
Yeah, she's recording.
Sorry.
Okay. So for my meal planning, I do breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my family. And I already know, like, if I fix my kids pancakes or waffles, then I already know I'm either having my yogurt and granola or my eggs and spinach and toast. I kind of just have my rotation. But I just have this kind of a notebook that when I sit down to make my grocery shopping list, I do a menu at the same time. Because then I know when I come back from the grocery store that I actually have food that I can feed my family. Because sometimes you can go to the grocery store and you get food, but then you're like, oh, I don't know what to fix. So I just come through and I do a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I just have each one planned out. And I just keep this in my kitchen where my recipe books are at. So then I can just pull this right out of my cabinet and be like, okay, that's what I'm making the kids for breakfast. And then lunch is usually leftovers or turning my leftovers from other meals into something. And then that's how I stay on track. Because if not, we easily go through the drive-through, but I use my Instapot and my crock pot. So usually at lunchtime, I'm putting in dinner in those, even if it's like something that needs like chicken, just go ahead and throw your chicken in, because then it saves you so much time at dinner because your meat's already cooked and then you can put it in whatever it is you're making. But so then, like Judy, what you asked, like then I can kind of go back through and be like, okay, well, what did I have this week? And can kind of go back and look and see what I had and whatnot.
Okay, so you don't go backwards and then go, okay, I'm going to repeat all of this again. You actually kind of just like, oh, maybe I'll do that. You kind of mix it all up, but you still have like a list of like, so you're not repeating it like from last week or something. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, so I'll just go through, or if I see like a new recipe on, social media or whatnot, then I'll throw that in there. And I do follow some people on Instagram that do meal ideas. So I'll be like the other day it was, what was it? It was salsa chicken. And I was like, oh, I have some salsa that I need to get used up before it goes bad. So throw in some salsa in with the chicken in the crock pot, and it makes your house smell good. And you can do tacos or just that itself, or put that over rice, like just that one meal. You can, change it up different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. I like that. Yeah. So you don't batch cook then? You like, if you're doing your Instapot chicken, do you make enough chicken just for that meal, or do you do, I think I heard you say something, but I couldn't remember what you said. Do you do like a couple meals of chicken, like have it ready? Or what do you do?
Not normally, because usually I make enough that we have leftovers anyways, and then that's what I'll take and turn into something else, whatnot. But usually I don't find myself that I have the time to batch cook. Like I'll just cook for whatever I need. And then I always cook more because I'm feeding 6 people anyway, so I normally have multiple. So like I had chicken left over from something, and I was like, okay, what can I do with that chicken and change it to make it something different, because my kids get tired of leftovers. But or we call it buffet night at our house, when we just pull all the leftovers out, and it's like, okay, get what you want.
It's all there.
Well, that sounds better than leftover night. Buffet night.
I know. We call it, I think The Incredibles is actually where I got that idea. In The Incredibles, it says it's buffet night, and she just starts pulling everything out, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to take that. But I have found that with us being home more, I'm definitely a lot better about using my leftovers and knowing what I have and trying to switch it into something else so you're not eating the same thing over and over. But that's because I have kids and they get tired of the same thing. So
yeah, like that's not my problem.
But that's what I found works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
See, and if it was just me, it would be totally different, but with my kids. But for me, I know if I plan my meals out, then it really makes such an impact. Plus then I'm eating better, so my meals are better, which then makes you not snack on the stuff that you shouldn't be because you didn't have fulfilling and satisfying meals.
Yeah, I think
But
that's the main key to meal planning is when you put the meal planning in, you can figure in the proteins you need. You can figure in the the increments of the different kinds of foods groups you want, and you've planned ahead for it. Then when it comes time to eat, you know what's coming. You can just get it done. I'm notorious for anytime I make meals, snacking along the way while I'm making them. By the time the meal's done, I'm too full because I've been snacking the whole time. So if I've got cucumbers sliced up and ready, or I've got something sitting there next to me, I can snack on something that's not going to fill me. But if I know dinner's coming and I've planned ahead for it, then I don't have to snack either because maybe it's in the crock pot and already done, or maybe it's already going and it's ready when I'm ready. So meal planning makes a big deal. Anyone else had any good experiences or anything to share on that one? Okay. Okay.
Well,
so
I'll share what I do and I don't do. I do exactly what you were just saying, Angie, that actually makes me like, I have all the foods, like I have all the chicken and the beef and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it all week. So I'm always like, I have like kind of some recipes because I actually did, long ago, a 4-month, maybe it was more than that, but I know it was at least 4 months of rotations of that many meals, that many different meals. And I had 4 months worth. And I'll pull it out occasionally and look at it, but I don't know what it is. And I think it's just because now I have older kids and they're just all over the place sometimes. And so, yeah, like tonight you just said it, you go, so you don't pick up fast food. Jody and I went out to eat and I'm like, well, wait, we didn't put anything for the kids. Now, mind you, my kids are 19 and 20, almost 21. So, I mean, yes, they can fend for themselves, but I'm like, I like to have something. So I'm like, Jody, I didn't put it, we didn't, and I work 1 to 10 usually. So I'm like, Jody, I didn't put anything in. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, let's stop at Winco and get some fried chicken. So that's what we did. So it's like, probably not the best choice all the time, but I'm like, maybe I better start like at least writing down some stuff, some ideas. I want copies of your recipe or of your, like, take snapshots so I get some more ideas.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, doesn't it? That's what Gwen and I were discussing. Her reaction was, I hate meal planning. And I understand that. It's a hassle. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes thought. And you have to, you take it, think it up and then write it down and then follow through on it. And it takes a lot of effort. But ultimately, especially with a family of 6, as Angie's mentioned, it runs so much smoother when you have it done and you know what's coming up. So that's something that I'm going to kind of re-preach to all of us, right? Just remember that if we can take a little time out of one day a week, write down what we're going to do during the week, write down what we're going to have for each of our meals and even our snacks, and make some plans. It makes the whole process go a little bit smoother for us as we're trying to stay within the calorie range or wherever you're trying to stay for your goals. So we're down. Okay, we're gonna move on here. One of the questions that was brought up with us is, how about eating too few calories? What happens when we do that? And Judy, what are your thoughts on that? If we're hitting too many calories or too few?
I know my team, like, we've had nutrition one-on-one consults a lot, and just discussing, like, the too few calories basically means what is your baseline that you're supposed to be eating to basically function in life, right? That's your basal metabolic rate. So basically, how is it your heart functioning, your brain functioning, your lungs functioning? That all takes energy. And so eating less than what you need is detrimental to your health. Then what you need to survive basically is detrimental to your health. And that can do a lot of things. Basically, one of them is can slow down your metabolism. 2, you're not getting the right amount of fuel. So, that's not a healthy way to eating. So really, that's really the point of, like, making sure that you're not, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like, there's not just a one, the RDA says 2,000 calories on an average person. That could be way too much for some people and not enough for others. So you can't just go on an average. You really need to know one-on-one, what that measurement is for you, what that calorie intake is for you, that energy intake. So that's pretty much really, you know, what the too little of calories, and then really so much not focusing on what like how many calories as more than what the quality of food you're eating, what type of food you're eating. Because I definitely, like, if I eat 2,000 calories a day, which is, you know, what I could do, but I could totally smash a cheesecake and you know, a sundae or an ice cream shake, a milkshake, and that would smash, you know, 2,000 calories right there. So I'm like, what kind of food are you putting in? Really, that's what you probably would mainly pay attention to mostly. What are the types of foods you're eating and the quality of food that you're eating? So,
Yeah. Okay.
Any thoughts on that, guys? You know, I gotta get my water.
Yeah,
you know, but
I'm with you on
that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kathy.
No, I just agree with you on what you're saying. And I think that sometimes we strive, and if you're working with the containers and you're working with the whole UPF, you know, ultimate portion, trying to fit it all in, I think that sometimes it could seem overwhelming because it seems, following certain plans, it might seem like a lot of food, but we have to remember that a lot of those calories that we're getting are in the vegetables that don't have really many calories to begin with in the first place. And so you kind of, as Judy said, you have to think about what it is that you're putting in and making sure that you're eating the right things and getting the right amount of calories so that what you're eating fits what your body needs.
Yeah. So I was going to say, it's really great just to eat, you know, they always say eat from the rainbow. You know, I remember, like, if you go to, I love it when I worked at the school, we would have potlucks, but then you look at the color of the variety of the buffet, and it's like everything kind of was brown and white, and there wasn't other colors. And you know, you get a lot of color obviously from fruits and vegetables mainly. So, and you know, I mean, we can do a whole nother meeting on fruits and vegetables and the types of foods and all that kind of stuff too. But eat from the rainbow, it helps. So I know from the holidays, my rainbow was like peppermint candy, and it's like the colors of red and white,
right,
and you know, purple,
yeah.
you know, whatever, gumdrop. I don't know, I don't eat that stuff, but I just like saying it's just a different kind of rainbow.
Yeah.
So,
but definitely I noticed.
Nothing wrong with that either. Go ahead, sorry.
No, there's nothing wrong with that intermittently, right? There's nothing wrong. It's when it's continual that it gets. And there was the last week between Christmas and New Year's, we had a lot of family and it was kind of continual for that week. And I definitely felt a difference in my body. I could definitely feel a difference in my energy level and my ability to function in general. So yeah, intermittently, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's keeping an eye on it on a permanent basis. It really makes a big difference.
Does anybody have any thoughts on like your calorie intake, or had questions on that?
Well, I've always heard that if you don't eat in enough calories, that your body actually goes into starvation mode and it holds on to everything. So that's you know,
the concept of slow metabolism. Yeah. That's
so it
basically
just
what
slows
happens.
everything down.
Right. So yeah, you can call it starvation mode. I mean, you're not going to be catabolistic. I mean, okay, yes, in a way, but not. So I don't want to go there without going in deep dive in it. But yeah, you know, that's what it would basically do, is your body would just hang on to stuff, and that's the slowing down part, because God made us incredibly well to survive. Survive.
To survive. That's right. That is true. I took a class back in college, an aerobics class, and we had a book called Fit or Fat that we had to work from. And it was written by a doctor who had a clinic where he worked with obesity and helping in there. And that was one of the things he discovered in his studies, was that a lot of the super obese people that he was working with had very limited diets. I mean, they hardly ate anything. And the first thing he did was say, you're just not eating enough. I mean, your body has shut down and it's not doing anything because you're not getting it. And what they did eat was not super healthy so they weren't getting the right nutrients, and then they weren't getting enough calories. And so their body was just panicked and holding on to everything it possibly could to survive. So there's definitely some truth to all of that. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
Well, you were mentioning, Kathy, about like some snacks and like snacking on vegetables, because you're like saying it wouldn't fill you up, and then and that's true. Like vegetables, because they're so high in water and also fiber, you can get full at a certain point. You can feel it, especially if you drink water with it. But it's great. It's a great source of fiber for you. But one of the things is you don't usually get full from it because it's, and so I'm wondering, I've got someone who posed the question, and she has athletes that she trains, and young athletes. And so I want to ask out there, what would you guys like suggest to her? She asked in the question, what are some quick, easy snacks that you would recommend? And I mean, I have some thoughts because they need to go play a game. They're playing basketball or whatever, and they need something really quick. So does anybody have any ideas of some snack ideas that you would suggest for her?
I'm just trying to think. It's been so long since my kids were in sports, but they would eat small something with carb and like fruit with some natural sugar that they weren't going to go like, spike and drop like, but with a healthy carb. So to give them the energy for their, whatever they were doing. So I don't know, that would be, I can't even think of what we used to, there was a granola involved quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a good one. Bananas. Those are always a good go-to because they've got some of those natural sugars and they've got enough carbohydrates in them to kind of give you a little boost when you need them.
Think of the little kids that always get oranges at halftime at soccer.
Yeah. Yep. That is
oranges
quick
are
energy.
a good go-to. Yeah. So and they're a good energy. They're not a bad, white flour carb that's gonna, drop off really quick either. So
right. Not a spike.
I would make Preston like energy bites, which has the peanut butter and oatmeal, and I know it's been a while since I've made them. Or also like I don't know how good they are, like the V8 Fusions, because it was something he could drink, because a lot of times if he was nervous, it would be hard to eat.
Yeah. The acids never, because that's a tomato, the acid didn't bother his stomach. That's good. Yeah. There we go.
And they have V8 fusions that are like fruit juices too.
Yeah, it's like a mixture of vegetable and juice.
Oh, gotcha.
And fruit,
that's definitely quick energy there. You're talking about those energy ball things, like mixed with peanut butter. And so we'll mix our Shakeology in there and put the protein and the peanut butter, like you said. Yep, that's good. Quick. Also with I put honey in mine and some coconut oil. Kind of with the word. So you got some good fat in there. Yeah, I would say really anything that's easy to digest, so that your stomach isn't having to work on some you don't want heavy protein. An energy ball would be easy because it's already powdered down, the protein is, but you don't want to have a steak right before you're about to play a game. Let's have a burger,
Right.
I'm sure they want to because they could smash it down, but it's like, no. But let's forget about those energy balls. What's that?
I don't know. One time Kristen ate a huge bean burrito at, what was it? At Costa Vida right before a soccer game, and she went and scored 8 goals in her soccer game.
Yep. These kids,
so maybe bean burritos are good. I don't know.
I'd be in trouble. People behind me be in trouble. And she's like, yes, they would.
That probably came later after the game.
But yeah, and the difference is too, kids, there's a whole nother metabolism, group there, in themselves. And so they can totally, use it up really quickly. Oh, dang, I see our time's going out. Dang.
Yeah, it's almost done. I think you are right, though, that some of those simple carbs are good boost of energy and easy to digest, right? So when you got to get out and you grab some simple carbs that aren't going to be so full of sugar that they're going to pump up your sugar level, but they're going to be, your body's able to process it through. And when you think about beans are actually a carb. So maybe there was something to that, right? That if it was, maybe if it had been a steak fajita burrito, there would have been a different reaction, but you know, beans are a carb. So
should have been sleeping on the side.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what white flour will do to you. Spike your
Yeah.
blood sugar and then plummet you. So no white breads or those kind of processed breads for their, yeah.
I know that Dave and Jody work together, and they work with ET, and ET always says that when he gets really tired and sleepy at work, what he needs to do is go eat some protein. Now, he's not running out to play a game, so he's not going to go and do a bunch of jumping around, but he finds that his brain wakes up and he's able to function more if he gets some protein in his system. So I think it's good to kind of look at what it is that we're trying to accomplish and how we're going about doing it, right? If you've got athletes that are getting ready to go out and run marathons, they're not going to want to go grab, like you said, a steak. But if you've got someone that's sitting at an office and trying to stay awake, it may be that the proteins are what they're needing at that point. And so it kind of depends on what your
almonds are good. Almonds are a good wake up protein.
Yeah, they're a nice one.
Kristen would also do a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches between school and running.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah,
good.
and his body, I was going to say he'd have time for his body to digest, I can't talk, to digest it a bit too. So
Yeah.
good.
Sounds
Good.
good. Okay.
The only other question that I had, sorry, Kathy, you were saying something. I just
No, you're
interrupted.
so good. Go for it.
I was just going to say the other question that someone else had was about intermittent fasting, and then just kind of, you know, the thoughts on that. And, you know, there's definitely trends out there. And I don't want to call them fad diets because to me, they come in and out, but I feel like they come in and actually they're just reinvented because they're called something else now. You know, you can call it keto, you can call it Atkins, you can call it, you know what I mean? So it's like they're just reinvented another name. So I'll just call it trending. And intermittent fasting was one of the questions in our thoughts on it. And so I asked Angie to give us her thoughts on it because she had used that for a little while. And so, but basically, let me just say what intermittent fasting, there's many ways you can do it. But basically, it's just like timed eating. So and you fast for a certain amount of time, you can do it like a couple of days during a week, 5 days you're eating and 2 days you're fasting. There's a certain amount of calories you should be eating, that kind of thing. That's really much what intermittent fasting is. Or you can do a certain amount of time during your day that you're only eating. And so anyways, so that's kind of what it is. And so Angie, in 4 minutes or less, can you give us your thoughts on that?
I actually did enjoy doing it for a short term thing, not something I would want to do continually. My body adapts very well to what I'm doing with eating and all of that stuff. But I did like it because it really helped with just my overall body bloating and just overall feeling better because I was able to clean out my system better. So I would eat from 11:30 in the afternoon until 7:30 at night. That was my window of eating, and then I didn't eat after that. So it was good for short term. But when Judy and I started tracking my food doing that, I was finding out that I was barely making like 800 calories a day because I just couldn't eat that much during that time frame. So I lost 5 pounds, but that took me like a month and a half, 2 months to do that 5. So I felt it was good for just kind of a refresh, like after the holidays, you know, type of a thing. It might be something, or when you're just kind of feeling overly bloated or whatnot. But long term, it wouldn't work for me because since Judy and I switched to like a regular meal plan, I'm eating 10 times the amount of food and I can eat it whenever, and it hasn't affected me, and I've still been able to continue to drop. So
yeah, no, and that's actually a key thing. That's one thing that intermittent fasting definitely will help with, because the idea is, so that when you're not eating, you're using up your fat stores for energy when you're not eating. That's the idea. But if you're looking at the law of thermogenics, you basically are always utilizing energy. So it doesn't really matter that you're not eating. You're still, even at rest, your body's still using energy. You know, you still need to function. So still using and still burning, and you definitely need fuel to do that. So it's technically supposed to get into your fat stores, but it's going to do that anyways, because you're going to go through your glycogen stores first and then your fat stores, your carbs and then your fat. So it's like, it's going to be used anyways. So I'm not saying poo-poo it. It's like, it works for a lot of people and it's helpful, but really it's more of an adherence. And that's what you were saying, Angie, like you couldn't adhere, you didn't want to adhere to that because it wasn't helping you anymore. So what you needed it to do. And could you adhere to that very long time? Some of us already do that and we don't realize it. Like sometimes we're working out or whatever in the morning, and then at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, we're finally eating something. And then later on in the day, and then at night, we just stop eating after we eat dinner. And so it worked, you know, for that person, and they didn't realize they were doing it. So sorry, less than a minute. Did you have something else to say, Kathy, or shall we go back on?
No.
We can come back on. Because
girls, yeah, we can come back on if you girls would like to do that.
Do you guys have any questions about it?
Any more things you want us to cover?
I can't think of anything.
Does anybody have any questions on intermittent fasting? Sorry, that was so short. So really, and the other thing is that in that short amount of time too, you could be eating less calories anyways. And maybe it's because you needed to eat less calories than you expend. So that's why, you know what I mean? So, and then sometimes it's way too little, right? Yeah. Like for your case, it became too little. So there's all these different things. So it's not a one size fits all, not a one-stop shop for anybody.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, ladies, thank you for being here. If you have more questions, we can easily get back on. Otherwise, you can just reach out to one of us and you know, let us know that any questions that you have. We're happy to help out with that. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate it. It was good to visit with all of you and see all your good faces. You look.
Can I get a picture before we go away?
Oh, please do it and then send it to me.
1, 2. I'm afraid we're gonna die. 3. Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks,
send it to me, Judy. All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a great evening. It's good to see you all.
Thank you.
Talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.